tell us how this is going to go down. Gentlemen, Mr. Man, Lost, welcome to the Face-Off. And to start this one off, we have a fun question of the day for you. Lost, I hit you up with this earlier. What is your most embarrassing moment in World of Tanks?
Anytime you're carrying a game and then you get one shot by Artie.
That's your most embarrassing? Like you have a single instance?
Well, yeah. Well, obviously, I think when I don't remember the map, but it's a winter map, and there used to be a hill on top of it, but they removed it and made like 2 lanes. I can't remember the winter map. There's a ditch through the middle. Thank you. There used to be a bush that you would drive through, but after that bush, there'd be a 45-foot drop, and I think I drove through that bush maybe 4 or 5 times and never learned my lesson.
Oh, that's a pretty good one, Lost. That's pretty good. We'll have to see. Mr. Man, do you have a story that competes with that? Your most embarrassing? It's sharing time.
Yeah, when I first started playing the game, I thought you had to compensate for where their shells went in dispersion. So if like you fired and then your shot went high, I used to like aim lower because I thought the shells would had more chance of going in that direction. So I used to try to compensate for where the shells are going instead of just aiming directly at the target.
So you had shells going all over the place?
Yeah.
Dude,
it was pretty fun.
That's a pretty good one. That one's a pretty funny one. All right, that's your embarrassing stories out of the way. Rox, let's start your question, sir.
So you guys had a pretty interesting match, I guess you could say, against Dare Rising on Thursday. Do you think that momentum's going to carry over today's match versus Valence?
Yeah, I definitely think it will. I think we're all feeling good after finally getting a win after a couple losses and also some annoyance like with the Eclipse game with the disconnect and stuff that definitely got to us a little bit. So,
all right, so
I think we definitely have the momentum back in our favor.
Screwing your heads back on tight, getting yourselves back in the game?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Lost, moving over to you. You guys have had an interesting first season, and I'm stealing your word, Rox, interesting first season of Tanks. It hasn't been super successful, but I know you guys are building for something, just trying to hold on. At this point, this is the last day in Round Robin 1. What are you looking to accomplish?
Basically, stay in the hunt. If we beat them, I think we're 3-4, or 2-4-1, whatever it is, and then gives us better footing to actually hopefully build on to what we're trying to do. Like I said, it's progress.
Well, thank you guys.
Sorry.
No, it's good. There's not much more. I just want to see you guys hit the battlefield. So, any final words, Lost or Mr. Man? Anything?
Best luck to you, man.
Yeah. Best
Same to you, bro.
All right. Thank you, guys. We'll see you on the battlefield. All right.
Well, we'll have to see if aquatic M60s can keep their heads above water.
Oh, aqua jokes.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, though, they kind of felt like they were a little bit loose there. Maybe they were drowning a little bit, just couldn't get the momentum going, and they feel like they finally have their head above water, like they're going in the right direction. They can see where they're supposed to be going. But now we have to see if they can stay there.
There's actually something to be learned from actually trying to swim with weights on. If your hands and legs are bound, one trick to actually put your head above water is if you feel like you're losing your ability to keep yourself afloat, just actually let yourself sink to the bottom. If you know like how deep it is, and say 30, 40 feet, hit the bottom, kick yourself back up, and actually the momentum will carry you back up and you can catch yourself a breath of fresh air. So sometimes you actually have to go all the way to the bottom. Sometimes you have to fail, proverbially, in order to
climb your way all the way back up.
Exactly. And so that could have been aquatic last week. They just needed to hit the bottom of the pool, jump back up, and catch another breath of fresh air, get themselves back into the place.
Yep. Now speaking of hitting the bottom, it appears that Valence still really haven't left so much. Not to try to knock on them, but they're still sitting down there in 7th place right now.
Yeah.
What do you think they need to do today to move themselves out of that 7th place spot?
Valence talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Valence is going to have to really show up, though. And I think we want to return to talking about the maps with this one, because Mines is going to be troublesome for them. If they've shown up and they've prepared to play on Mines against aquatic M60s, that's going to be a big deal. Now, Cliff. I feel like aquatic's going to be just fine on Cliff. What do you think about Valence on Cliff? Because that's...
I haven't seen them play it enough. They've played it a couple of times, and it was really mixed success, so I don't really think they definitely have some room for improvement. If they can get under M60s early, especially on our first map, I think it could be all right. But like I said, if Mines doesn't go decently for Valence, I don't see this being a very close series at all.
Yeah, so it's going to come down to whether or not Valence studied, I think, is what we've kind of come to. We've been playing around with the idea of how Valence beats aquatic today, or how aquatic just plays it tight. Well, we're going to have to find out.
All right, yeah. And we're going to find out right now as we're going to head into our first map of the evening.
Mines, a small summertime map with lots of hills, rocks and other cover. The teams start the battle in the usual locations, but the base locations are different. One is located in the bottom part of the village and the other one is in the water. One of the key objectives is the center hill. That's why the teams will often select fast vehicles and tanks with strong turrets for cover.
And lineups coming in here, a 113, 3 Batchats, a TVP, a Batchat AP, and an M5355 for M60s. Valence, 3 Batchats, a TVP, 2 Grills, and a T49.
Yep, and opening moves, looks like we're going to have a strong middle push by Aquatic, taking control just under the hill, but actually holding back a little bit. Bales is going to be moving away, and look at this. We have a nice little eastern aggression from Valence. They're going to be moving out to the east side of the map, where we'll see what they're able to accomplish. If they're able to catch anything, because I do see one Batchat currently en route. Bales might be pinned, and if he goes down, that's one early Batchat lost, and the trap's about to be sprung. Bales is spotted, spots Fulcrus, and they're going to trade a little damage.
G-Forcer's going to come in here and back up Fulcrus. 1-for-1 blow between these 2 Batchats, and now there's a 2v1.
Yes, but high ground right now does go in favor to Aquatic. Aquatic should be able to do something with this, but Fulcrus is moving in, so is G-Forcer. Artie comes in, hits onto Fulcrus. He takes a lot of damage, but G-Forcer is able to finish it out and keep Fulcrus alive for now. His support fire coming in could take him down.
A lot of damage has been done onto Valence, though. Viral down to a one-shotter, and actually now he's completely gone, and that's basically a 2-tank lead for M60s.
Oh, a nice shot. Fulcrus is going to go down as well, so 2 for 1, not bad. So Valence is at a disadvantage right now on defense, but the attackers Aquatic still have to make their attack, come on through. All right, now getting ready for the counter push by Aquatic. They're moving Marsh 166 and the Bat AP off to the east side to combat G-Forcer. He realizes, is G-Forcer disconnected? It looks like he might have been.
I think what's happening here, if you guys look at the round timer, only 7 minutes was on the clock at the start. I think they might be just ending this to restart it.
It might have been a misplay. Interesting. All right, so looks like an early misplay for battle number 1. Please excuse that. That'll happen maybe once in a season, and with that one, we'll have to see what our...
Everyone's backing out to garage. I don't think M60's got the memo, though, so they're just going to go kill everyone real quick. But that does not actually count for anything.
That's too bad. Well, we didn't even notice this time, and that's a common thing. You just start the battle, get a little sim time. But let's look at that opening strat, what teams tried to do, and what they're going to have to do now that they just actually had a false start.
They just showed each team what they want to do. Now, there's a lot to be said about that, but now maybe Valence have to come up with basically a new plan. Now, the thing is to remember, this counts just like a disconnect. They can't change tanks right now.
Yep.
They're stuck with those lineups. So if they want to change strats, they're stuck with the same lineups. So now
that could have actually explained a lot about the strategy we saw. Did you notice how actually Aquatic M60s
they would have
the middle?
Typically what'll happen is they would typically go to map. So it looks like we'll have just a minute here. Okay, so looking at that. Anyways, so now we have to figure out, are they going to run the same strat? They brought 2 grills, a couple Batchats, a TVP, and the T49. What else can you do with that besides what they just did there? Because it's a very customized lineup for a very customized strat.
That's a good point. It might not be that flexible, but you could try something west side. I'm sure that water side you could still deploy much like that and get some success. The T49 is going to have some trouble, as it's a tank designed, I guess, to go more towards like the middle opening push and then probably die. But you could kind of use it like we've seen some of the UDESs used off on the west side, so a passive scout somewhere in order to try and get some of that work done. We'll have to see what happens with that, if they decide to redo it, or if actually the strategy and the play that they went for, knowing that there was a 7-minute timer, they might have done something different. So they could actually be playing a head game, because you don't know if your opponent's strategy that time was exactly that, or if it wasn't.
Well, then you have the whole fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me.
Yeah, try the same thing, see if it works. Although, also, with that Bales push out to the east, that was something that if that happens again in this battle, where we see a trap sprung like that that was Valence. A trap sprung from Valence like that, we could see the trap work again? Probably not, and I expect better counterplay. But for what I saw from Aquatic on attack, the way that they attacked indicated they might not have been confident that battle was legitimate from the start. So I think throw everything we know out the window, see what they come back with. I see that lineups are happening now. People are starting to ready up. So we'll have to see what goes on, because this is highly irregular. Happens from time to time though, and we just restart. Everyone readies back up, and we'll get going. But battle number 1, Mines. I think we did see Aquatic still coming out ahead. Valence is going to struggle.
Yeah, I agree. Now let's take a close look at what they're going to do. Remember, lineups are the same.
We'll go over those one more time for us when we get into battle, of course. Now, let's talk first Aquatic.
So Aquatic, a 113, a TVP, 3 bat jets, a tier 9 bat, and an M5355. Valence coming in with 4 bat jets, 2 grills, TVP, and a T49. So now the question is, do Valence try to go for the same thing? Or what else can they do with a double grill setup? Do they play more passive? Do they play out towards the 1-2 line? There are so many different options right now, and their first play has already been seen. So if AM60s fall for it again, that's a problem. But if you look at it, it was actually AM60s that were coming out the better of those trades.
We'll have to see, as now we do see the aggressive move. Big hill push coming out from Aquatic M60s. And here's the boost from Mr. Man. He's going to be able to make it up a little bit, so is Dark Ninja. And Bales is going to be heading on up.
And G-Forcer is actually just going to go to one of the bushes to spot this 8-9 line, not as many tanks committing. They do have Fulcrus, I believe it is, up on the boost already, taking a little bit of damage, losing his commander in the process.
Ouch, that's going to hurt. Okay.
Is he running rations?
He might just be.
But he has first aid kit, he just hasn't healed him yet. So looking at it, static, closing with the hill right now.
And, well, Fulcrus is on the high ground. This is great for Valence, right?
This is working out better than the last strat worked out, that's for sure. The HP is basically even.
Did they go for the boost like this last time?
No, they didn't. They went out to cut out Bales. This is 2 different ways to addressing the same problem. They're obviously worried about the 0 line. First time they sent 2 bat chats just to cut off any tanks, get out there and focus really hard on just getting aggressive and trying to stop Bales. Now they've actually taken control of the boost, and they're dropping a little bit further back to not lose the same amount of HP.
Oh, might as well jump on to something a little bit different for the moment. Matt Knight. Matt Knight is here today, and he is in the T49. He has not shown his face much this entire season, and he is the one Brazilian player on the team. And so
one Brazilian player in the league, I believe, right now.
I'd have to verify whether or not that's true. I feel like I'd be wrong if I said that and assuming, but one of maybe 2, if anything. But he'll be playing the T49. He's got to play under probably a more significant ping than anyone else currently.
We have a lot of Ukrainians.
But I think they get a better ping than do the Brazilians to North America, if I'm correct.
I'd have to double check on that one. That sounds about right, but I think at very worst case, or best case anyways, it's roughly even.
Okay. Well, mostly, I know that mostly from reviewing replays from Gold League and then also from Silver League, where we have a lot of players that are international. And when you review a replay, you can see the players' ping that they had while they were playing. And so that's where I get that one from.
And now it's 113 coming out on the 0 line here, knocking down a tree.
G-Forcer's in a rough position because of that. He's passive in a bush, he should be relatively safe, but if he's spotted, Bales has shots on him from one angle, while Feel My Potato has shots from another. So if they figure out where G-Forcer is, and this is not something we see very often, if we see that from G-Forcer...
Oh, they could catch out the artillery right now.
Oh, they could, and they could catch out Mr. Man if they play it right. I want to see some fire go into the buildings around G-Forcer from people on his team.
I don't think they really have a reason to assume there's a passive scout there, though.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying with like Spooky or Viral? They could fire off towards the north and actually take down the buildings that are blocking G-Forcer's ability to spot tanks.
Yeah, but Felix is looking for a shot onto Fulcrus. Actually, he's going to change targets. Looks like he's going to aim over towards Spooky right now.
Yep. Oh, and I think G-Forcer's even thinking about taking the building down. But he knows it's probably not the wisest choice.
Well, what he has to have happen is he has to have one of the tanks from the back row take it down for him.
Yeah,
that's what shoot from distance and then let him spot from there so he can remain. Blind shot coming out and a big connection with Spooky for almost half his HP.
That hurts a lot. I'll jump over to Spooky. He was just chilling out backside of a rock, and usual spot for a grill, but unfortunately a little too predictable. And that's what happens when you fit into those highly predictable positions. You're just going to get punished for it once. And shots going out to Dark Ninja from the high ground. That's from Fulcrus. He's taking a lot of damage for it, though. And he actually gets tracked out in the open.
And Fulcrus actually ends up hitting the building, which is the only thing saving Dark Ninja from taking another shot.
Yeah, and that last shell comes from Mr. Man on the high ground. So playing the counter position to that east side hill, he's able to get his kill, and now he's going to leave, realizing we've gotten our one. They don't know, I think, about Spooky, the damage onto that grill. They know it's blind fire. And Mr. Man actually gets spotted leaving the hill.
That night, creeping over here on the 1-2 line, while Mr. Man and Dark Ninja are backing out of this 9-0 line. And Dark Ninja was spotted while he left, so they're going to know that something is up.
They're going to know that there's a move, but that's obvious, right? There should be a move after
Anytime
that.
tanks get unspotted for any amount of time, the other team needs to be assuming that they're making some sort of a play, that they're grouping up, or that something is coming, that they're planning something in those moments.
Yeah. And that's going to be it. Mr. Man looks like he goes for the jump, makes it, taking
Takes
2
a
shells.
lot of damage.
Just 2 shells. Nothing critical yet. Oh, a third from G-Forcer, surprise. And he's going to get, 1, 2, 3. He needs one more, and he should be able to finish it off.
He doesn't get it, though, and G-Forcer's getting lit up. And Mr. Man gets the kill shot onto G-Forcer.
If he'd rolled slightly higher by just 33 damage over all of those shells, that would have been a dead Mr. Man. But because of that, that it's such potential. So much potential, and I got to respect it. Strong play by Valence. Very tricky, but not going to work out this time.
Matt Knight's still chilling out over on the 1 line. He kind of knows that Marsh was over there, but he hasn't seen that Marsh has already backed all the way out over towards the main island.
Yeah. And now, actually, I wonder, could Mr. Man be taken out by Valence with HE? That would actually help them quite a bit. But I do see Aquatics going for something right now. Let's take a moment and listen in with their comms, see what they're about to get up to.
Something weird.
They have 2 1-shots.
They're going to listen right now.
That's already's back there.
Oh, yeah. There's the push,
Okay.
guys.
Got AP.
Just crit the TVP.
Focus fire, guys.
The Trevor's dead.
Static is one more.
Bat's pushing you, Steph.
Yeah, I know. We're fucked.
Yeah, that's the same. You should have gone for the hill push.
Yeah.
But yeah, it looks like you got shot by, like, I don't know, I looked, you're at 11.
Looks like that was actually, excuse us, from Valence. Those were their comms, as they're, I think they already knew it was coming. And as this one gets cleared out, Blitz is going to go down. Matt Knight's going to be the last one alive in his T-49.
Does pick up the kill onto Veggie.
I mean, that's what the T-49 gun's all about. Just that one shot, one kill. Well, not always at tier 10, but I mean, you should hope for that. And they're going to find him.
He's still not even loaded yet. They're actually going to ram him a couple times. He's going to be loaded. You should just go for the kill. Farm the fantasy points, Matt.
He just got double damage. And there he goes. That's going to be battle number 1, going to Aquatic. Strong start by them. We talked about this before the match began, and we said if Aquatic can start out with their win, and win twice on mines, that this one should quickly go the way of Aquatic. Now, with a weird start, that probably did throw Valence off a little bit more than the experienced Aquatic. Aquatic has been around in the league much longer. They know what to do. They're probably going to be able to keep their heads on straight a little bit easier than Valence, who are coming into the league later, are still trying to learn a few things about how it's done. And because of that, I don't expect them to bounce back from strange scenarios very easily, where some teams like Apex Eclipse, you would very easily expect them to just brush it off and move on, right?
But you also have to remember the old Bernal Empire and Elevate days with Static, Zone Delta, and G-Forcer. They've seen some weird things in their days.
That they have, but I don't know if that'll translate quite as strongly as that experience from Aquatic will help Aquatic. But looking at the post-battle stats, 2,000, 2,000, 2,000, 3 members of Aquatic putting up over 2k damage.
Dark Ninja putting up 62 fantasy points.
Yep.
Mr. Man, 52. Not bad.
I actually feel glad about picking Dark Ninja at the start of this, because it was that choice between Mr. Man or him, and well, I chose him. I guess it's so far paying off.
Yep, and then looking at the second page, both the grills for Valence not really able to get into the fight. Spooky, one of the top fantasy picks for Valence, only really doing one shot of damage in that grill, provided he did take a massive shot from that M53-55.
It really hurts you when you can't peek out in a grill very easily, because you're going to take damage when you peek out, right? Someone's going to say, it's a grill, we need to fire.
When you have something like an E3, you can, even when you're low HP, you can still peek because you still have that half chance of bouncing a shell or whatnot. When you're in a grill, you just have to assume if you're spotted, you're going to take at least one shot of damage. You just have to assume that you're spotted, it's going to happen. And it's the same thing with the S-Tank to a certain amount.
You're a magnet. Although the S-Tank's a little bouncy.
It can be in the right angles if someone catches off your side or something. Your side armor is extremely thin in that tank.
Yeah,
but from the front, definitely.
Yeah, if you can get an S-Tank in a position where no one's firing at his flanks, amazing position. You're not going to take much damage at all, except against players who really know that tank.
And no one wants to sit in front of an S-Tank because it's a laser gun. It really is.
You can't face-to-face against an S-Tank in siege mode. He's meant to deal the damage. So as we get into battle number 2, people are readying up their tanks. This is the chance for Valence on attack. I think that as a defender, Aquatic should do just fine. Valence is going to have a tricky situation ahead of them. I don't know how they're going to navigate this one, but Rox, what do you think?
Well, looking at it, we have Matt Knight in an artillery, the M4043, a grill, a TVP, 3 bat shots, and a 113. I love seeing G-Forcer in those 113s. He's always been a great heavy tank player. M60s coming in with a 113, an IS-4, 2 bat shots, a TVP, a grill, and an M4043 of their own. Now, an interesting little tidbit here is the M4043 is actually the most picked artillery so far this season.
Why?
However, well, that's what's going into this. This is what's interesting about it. Is it actually has the worst average damage of any of the 3 artillery. The Lorraine, 155, actually has a higher average damage per game than the M4043 does.
Well, that's because if you bring more of it, if you bring a tank more often, right, you're going to get more. You're going to get a lot more stats, right?
The sample size is getting up there to where you can kind of say they're almost even.
But the sample size is not so big that it creates an outlier of those 0 or low damage battles. Because there are battles where M4043s just don't deal much damage, right? That happens a lot. And it's not necessarily the M4043.
That's the thing, is the M4043 is a show up or blow up. It's either because it has the ability to one-shot tanks. If it can penetrate, it can do a whole lot of damage.
All right, now opening moves, Viral's going to be taking a little damage from... That was Veggie down below in the TVP, going for his opening little pay the toll. While Spooky and Static get it the sneaky way. So Valence takes the hill at the middle. Nothing special right now. And are you watching Matt Knight?
I am watching Matt Knight.
All right. We have to see what he's up to. I'm going to follow Felix for just a moment, because early in this battle, he's going to be zeroed on G-Forcer. And looks like that one might have just gone and landed a little bit short. Early damage from the Arty I think will be crucial in this one. If early damage from the Arty can take out one tank or something like that, I don't know. I'll have to see.
Artillery just looking to counter battery right now, Matt Knight. Not finding any shots, waiting for Felix to maybe fire. So we'll go ahead and jump over to Felix, see if he's getting ready to fire. He's lining up a shot. He's actually looking at the bush. He's fired recently. So he's trying to blind fire one of the bushes in the hill where teams so often put a passive scout. I don't think they figured out that Valence have actually pulled all their tanks back, and there goes a blind shot.
Nothing. Nothing's over there. Spooky and Static are sitting a little far back, trying to play it defensive. Counter battery comes in, I think.
From Matt Knight, but it came up short. That's why a lot of artillery players sit there behind that building, because after they fire, they can pull forward and pretty much be guaranteed safe from artillery.
Yeah, and that's just strong arty play right there. Paying attention to, I guess, more of the scouting role. Viral's going to move forward on the west side, make sure it's safe so their Arty can move up. M4043 needs that in order to get an angle onto the southern tip of the Mines Hill. And if he's able to do that, he'll be just fine. Now, looks like Bales gets spotted, starts blind firing. Viral puts a return fire out, just trying to tell him to keep his head down. And it looks, did I just see G-Forcer take some damage?
He took a little bit. I'm not sure from where.
I'm wondering as well.
I think it might have been the artillery.
That wasn't Bales, was it?
Oh, no, it couldn't have been the artillery from that angle, so it had to have been Bales.
It had to have been. I didn't notice him firing in that direction, and Arty comes out, barely misses Viral. Huge cloud of smoke. And I'm going to jump over to Matt Knight. Matt Knight's looking right towards the position currently held by that little bad chat, Bales. So Bales might get himself swatted in just a moment if he's not careful. Well, 20 seconds if he's not careful. And that could open up the flank, allow Valence some kind of southwest control. And southwest control goes a long way when it comes down to breaking a defense. But with and they have plenty of time, 6 minutes. So we shall see, because this one's going to be a slow play by Valence. And yep, that's going to be looking towards the south part of the hill. Spooky gets spotted trying to make some scouting runs. Dark Ninja's going to try and get shots out. Not
Felix loaded because Spooky's in a place where he's not that safe right now.
No, he'll be okay. Although he does proxy Veggie, which
that makes life easy for Felix.
That's what it should do.
This is the same place we watched Executives just completely deleted off the map last time.
Well, here's the problem about it. Veggie is in the correct spot to avoid Matt Knight and his fire. He's just perfect. Right underneath the hill, just past a point where artillery can't quite get the hit. And he's going to turn around and actually move himself back into that position to take fire. We'll see. We shall see if he's able to get anything done with that. Because if we look at the angle from Matt Knight, we're going to see that... Spooky's actually trying to go for the scout run. This is him relighting. If he can get close enough to Veggie to proxy spot him, that should do something. And then southwest as well. Looks like Valence is going to see a bat chat yet again from Bales. And this one's going to slow down, ladies and gentlemen, and it's going to slowly turn into a west side, best side kind of a play. As you see that 113 move down to the low ground. We're also seeing the grill that's played by Blitzwolf moving out to the west side as well. So we're going to see cap pressure on the west. They're going to hope for Aquatic to respond poorly, maybe overly aggressive. And what they'll hope to create is kind of a desperate situation, right? They're going to hope to delay Aquatic just long enough to get on cap, get the cap points up. Aquatic has to make a risky move, make Aquatic pay for it, get the cap or get the kills and win. But with 4 minutes left, they've got just enough time that this is a viable option. If they wait much longer, a minute or two, I think, Rocks, this doesn't work out. This is not a strategy that wins for Valence if it takes too long.
And M60s have, over especially last season and into this season, the one thing they do very well is they understand the different lanes that teams can approach from and how to get their guns quickly onto target. And with Mr. Man sitting back there, Morphic, the artillery, the tanks just underneath the hill, if this push from Valence is too obvious and gets spotted too soon, they are going to pay a heavy toll to their tanks to get down there.
Yes, they will. We'll have to see how that goes. This is one of those battles where it's a lot of sit and wait, see what these teams are going for.
A lot of posturing.
Exactly. But there's not a lot of damage being dealt, as you notice. There's no damage that's gone out on Aquatic whatsoever in all of 6 minutes. So
the biggest problem that M60s have right now is lack of active intel. They have a lot of passive positions.
But they don't need it.
Well, exactly. And that's the conversation here is, are these tanks... Because for this to work, these tanks have to be positioned perfectly to get those early eyes and have enough warning. Typically, they've been pretty good, but if they back up just a little bit too soon, then things could fall apart. But look at this. Spooky already spotted. Viral falling right behind. Spooky taking a lot of damage. 769, and down he goes to Mr. Man in the grill.
Oh, and I love this position for Mr. Man, deliberately avoiding Matt Knight in the Artie. He's not going to be able to put that counterfire out, negating one huge tank for the team. Spooky goes down, and the reply will not be there. That's a huge issue for Valence, and a great play by Aquatic. Mr. Man only takes 121, where he would have been completely just deleted off the map if he were in another position.
Morphic putting a shot put into him by Blitzwolf.
And shots coming out. Feel My Potato able to deal one into Viral. Viral is now a one shot.
Oh, and Felix is moving. Does Felix get spotted on that back line there?
Did Felix?
No, he's not spotted yet.
Not quite yet. He's still open. Although Bales comes around, and he's going to take out Viral. So 2 tanks down now for Valence, and that's going to really blunt the spear for them. They're not going to be able to push this one through the
Felix
other side.
Is loaded. He's lining up the shot, trying to find the shot. He's going to fire it off and get the shot onto G.
That's one more bites the dust. Static's way in the backfield, irrelevant to the fight ultimately. Dark Ninja's out there as well, so he's pinning him down. Static's not going to be able to help anyone out. Well, he's going to go for it. He's trying. Deals 830 and outplays Dark Ninja by just a hair. But
just piece by piece falling apart for Valence.
Yeah, this would take a hero play for Valence to win. So, that last shot going in, Veggie's not.
Now, after watching those matches against M60s last week, I'm not going to say it's impossible, but highly improbable.
Yeah, this one's in the bag for Aquatic. Solid play on defense. It's very difficult to attack an airtight defense on mines to break it down piece by piece. And I got to say, Aquatic's response is good. It's not one of the battles where we're going to see anything super impressive because it was a very by-the-book adjustment from Valence to go west.
Spotted Felix lining up the shot. It's the kill.
There we go. Aquatic's looking good. Aquatic looks really good starting this series.
But now that leaves us in this spot where it's now a 2-0 for Aquatic M60s. And like we talked about before the game started, if Valence can't get their foot at least in the door very well may just be shut on their faces essentially as they go into the second map.
Yeah, there's no room to get any more foot in there. It's quickly being closed. It's up to Valence to stop this. They're going to have to turn the series around. And if I know my Aquatic M60s, you don't want to go to a tiebreaker with them. So there it is. Battle number 2 goes to Aquatic M60s. They take mines by storm. And they are going to have a huge lead going to the rest of the season. They're the dominant team in the standings. They're the dominant team in almost every aspect we can talk about, and they have every advantage.
And the thing is for Valence is this is one of those teams they really need to catch. This is one of those teams that's next up in the standings that they need to leapfrog to have a shot at staying into this. So this is essentially a 6-point game if you think about it, because this is 3 points that Valence don't get and 3 points that M60s could walk away with, as opposed to if M60s lose and if Valence get the win, they could catch up and or tie with Aquatic M60s. So this match is vitally important for Valence's rest of the season.
Absolutely, because the way you end round robin 1 impacts the way that you can finish round robin 2 in a way. But you can look at it a few different ways and just say it's halfway there. Right, we just play everyone twice.
And for everyone that picked Spooky, I am sorry. Looking at the rest of the damage here, Bales, who's been rather quiet so far this season, doing 4,300 damage.
No, Bales is a good pickup.
87 fantasy points. Mr. Man doing 75 fantasy points. 1 kill, 2,800 damage. Not bad.
Very good, in fact.
Yep, and then look at this down at the bottom. G-Forcer, Spooky, and Viral all putting up 0 damage. Matt Knight only really doing that 1 splash onto the grill. Oh, you don't like to see that if you're a fan of Valence.
Yeah, well, Spooky led the charge on the west side. It was kind of expected he was going to go down. And I think Aquatic did an excellent job at
focusing fire and knocking down that push from Valence.
Also being in positions that Valence did not expect. I took note of this when I was watching the push. I wanted to see where tanks in support positions were looking at tanks in Aquatic positions. Tanks from Aquatic said, all right, you're going to expect I'm going to be here, here, and here. And there are 3 very common positions. They were in none of those 3 positions, and so when Matt Knight looked to get counterfire onto a grill spot,
he wasn't in the normal predictable position.
He was behind a rock, and because he's a rear-mounted turret, he can kind of back himself out.
And he has great gun elevation, and he could just back the back of his tank up onto that hillside, and he still had the gun elevation to get a shot on target.
Exactly. He got a shot on target, zipped right back into the rock, and Matt Knight sat there struggling for a minute to figure out what to do.
Very similar to how we see Artie play. Artie's safe, essentially, what we saw Felix last game in the south there. Exactly. Or no, it was that game in the south. Yeah. He fired, and then he pulled forward into that building, and all of a sudden he has perfect cover even from artillery. It's the same thing, but with a grill.
Yeah, a direct fire alternative. But what I had to appreciate about it was that it was a very deliberate use of that, and he knew where Matt Knight would be. He knew where the support fire was going to come from. So it showed to me that Aquatic really understood what their opponent was about to do, and then when they acted, they had the response prepared. So it shows a lot of prep, and it says that Aquatic's probably got their head on straight today. So long or short series, Aquatic's probably going to walk away. That's the early tell.
Yep, no, I definitely agree. And we're going to be heading into Cliff here in a second, and then we have Himmelsdorf afterwards. And Cliff is a map that last season we saw Aquatic M60s have some very explosive gameplay on, very aggressive, and they took map control early, especially when they were attacking, and it was a lot of fun to watch. So I really hope we can see them emulate that same sort of aggression today.
We shall see as we're about to get into map number 2.
Cliff, the most dynamic map in the league. Battles on Cliff always turn into desperate double-edged fights. Teams start from the same spots as they do in standard battles. The first base is located near the defender's spawn point, and the second is at the bottom of the hill. Sometimes teams split their forces and send several tanks through the 1-2 line to the left of the small hill, but usually both teams play at the center. The attacking team can send one of the tanks up to the lighthouse or behind it. Fast and quick-firing vehicles are better suited for this map, mainly medium tanks, including tanks equipped with autoloaders.
And here we go with M60s, 5 Batchats, a TVP, and a T49. Valence, a Kronwagen, 4 Batchats, a TVP, and an M4043.
All right, what do you think about that opening lineup? This is going to be Artie and no Artie, and Aquatics on defense. That means that they could possibly bully their opponent, but if they get too aggressive, if Artie gets that one connection, that could be it, right?
Taking a Batchat off the field at the start of this game, the Batchats do not have great DPM to begin with. The thing is keeping them in the fight and letting them get through multiple clips, because that burst is where things are important.
Exactly.
So if the artillery can take a gun out of the fight, then absolutely, that could turn the game, that could decide the game right then and there.
We'll have to see if he's able to make an early connection. Fulcrus's early fire will be crucial to whether or not Valence is going to be able to break this defense, or whether or not Aquatics is going to be able to stall for the entire battle. Felix is spotted early on. Looks like Fulcrus is zeroing in. Kronwagen from G-Force are taking some early fire. And it looks like a shot is out. Goes a little bit long. So first attempt right there from Valence. Not gonna roll. And we're gonna jump around on Valence because we want to see what they're trying to go for in this opening move. The Kronwagen from G-Forcer, he's playing a heavy tank as he should. Goes up towards the middle, and he's going to be trying to, I think, probably get onto the top of the mountain, I expect, up near the lighthouse. And if we can get a Kronwagen on the hill near the lighthouse, just like an S-tank that we've seen succeed there before, he's going to be hard to dig out, and because there's no artillery from Aquatic, it's going to be that much easier for G-Forcer to deal damage. So it'll take him a minute or two. Looks like Spooky's already on the way up. And that T-49 just throwing some fire out again. And this is going to be a slow one yet again as we get ready to probably listen in with Valence. Let's see what they're talking about.
You want to line your... Okay, so you see that black etching?
Well, yeah,
you want your left track on that, put most of your tank on the grassy side, and just keep wiggling WAD.
Okay, I think I got it. Yeah, I got it.
Got it, good.
I'm gonna go the slow way. Make sure you have eyes right now, Spooky. I'm peeking way.
Yeah, there you go.
Nothing here. Oh, I got laser.
No shots on that.
Careful. Dark shot. I'm gonna clip here. I'm safe. Careful, Spooky.
Yeah.
Okay, can we have with this back come here and explore the backside? Because that's 3 bats there plus back here. That means TVP up here plus then. We're really split though.
Yeah, that or
Yo, Artie can hit that.
49.
Yeah, we need Artie to work here.
Audio. You can
firing back here.
Alright, GM slowly starting to move up here. Let me know when you're up on the hill.
Careful. I gotta. I can't go uphill this way. I don't think.
No.
It's
There's the back way along this side, but I don't think you've been practicing it.
Well, I'm in a cron. Just remember that. Just make sure big time spots right now. Spooky.
Yeah, they're not poking right now.
I'm not getting spotted. I might be able to make a loop here soon and try and boost the backside.
Yeah, I'm gonna come up here and I'm gonna cover you.
Yeah, I'm still sitting over here.
I got liquor, Spooky. Backing off.
Blitz, if they push
Alright, Viral, making a
Two
loop.
shots.
I can hear you, sir.
I can't boost this.
No.
I said if they push you, just run. I mean, that's safe behind the rock.
We're gonna have static get up there. Just stay safe. Look out for shots this way.
Yep. Do they know
we don't want to?
No.
We don't want to start firework.
And that was an example actually of something I feel like I expressed a little earlier in the match, Rockstar, which was the unfortunate situation where you try and go for a boost that you aren't as prepared. I'm talking about when I was messing it up on mines. G-Forcer's having to learn a little bit about the boost here, how to climb in a Kronwagen.
It's easy enough to do in a Batchat, but doing it in a Kronwagen is extremely difficult. Now, one thing absolutely. I want to point out real quick.
Yes.
Mines. We talk about how teams have kind of adapted to counter out the 0 line climb. They get tanks aggressive on the 9 line, and they're making efforts to counter that out. Well, look at how M60s are set up. They're set out to counter that same climb that G-Forcer's doing. Look at this. They have tanks on the high ground right here. They have a tank all the way over here just playing this bush, and we're going to see this T-49 get over here. And what that's doing is they're trying to open up as many shots as they can towards the Kronwagen.
Yeah.
And just from right here, as well as a lot of damage.
Beautiful arrows, Rocks. Beautiful.
I know, right? Mouse skipping around there. I don't know why that line is so long. There we go.
Yeah, always blame your equipment, right? So shots fired, we saw 750 go into G-Forcer earlier, evidencing those angles of fire. And now G-Forcer's trying to deal with Marsh and Bales, who are in that southern position. So what are the options for Valence? What are they going to need to be able to do in order to take back the map? Because west side is where most of the aquatic tanks are, but it looks like the cover on the east is sufficient from aquatic. Like, they'll be able to respond.
This play depends upon getting to hill control. If they can take hill control, they can work this 2-cap.
But it's taken too long. They're not
too long. Right?
They're not going quickly enough. They needed to be on this hill about 2 minutes ago, right?
At least.
Yeah,
and now Dark Ninja is actually going to poke up and over, and he's actually not going to see G-Forcer there anymore, so they might think they've either given up or that they've done it real quickly while Dark Ninja had to back down.
I'm willing to bet Aquatic is confident that they haven't, that Valence hasn't made the jump yet. Because G-Forcer's trying just about to make it, and actually, oh no, he almost falls off the hill even. And yeah, this is a tricky situation. It's Aquatic looks like they really got aggressive, messed with Valence's opening approach, and because of that, G-Forcer's having a rough time trying to get to the hill, especially a Kronwagen, something not exactly one of the best mountain goat tanks in the game. And because of that, looks like G-Forcer's going to find his way up. Backside of the hill. Urtai's pushing up forward. So Valence going for that aggressive move, but they left a lot of tanks way south.
That's Urtai just taking a lot of damage from that TVP in the background. He's going to get down into the low ground while TVP reloads, but this is not a good situation to be in.
Yeah, Urtai does not get the spotting that he needs. It's too clever of a play by the TVP.
Ninja looking for the shot right over him. He has one more shell to get. I don't know if it could be a kill shot, and it is. A little bit of a high roll there, 423.
Takes down
Urtai. And it's still almost 1-1. Felix is a one-shotter at this point, so if they can take him out quickly, they can even this up.
If he's able to rotate out, though, and get into the backfield where he can just become a gun in the game, then we could see him stay effective. But yeah, you're right. If he stays in the position he's currently in, where he's actually spotted, there's a good chance he's probably going down. Now, Fulcrus in that artillery piece.
Viral's just pushing the middle. 4-line right now, taking a lot of damage. 803, and Dark Ninja's going to be reloaded in just a second. They're just going to push over and collapse onto these tanks from Valence, and this is looking terrible for Valence right now.
Yeah, this is not good. Wasted an arty shell, unfortunately, on a dead tank, so not able to just delete one of those crucial M60 tanks that otherwise could have been. And, well, Veggie doesn't even get spotted, so the counter play by Valence to try and force the tank in the far north out from aquatic M60s, that's Veggie and a TVP. The attempt to try and just take him out of the game doesn't work. Veggie's able to back off safely. Spooky's trying to spot now, but again, this is not working out. Veggie finally gets spotted there. Shots fired, he does take damage, and he has to give up on his position. Okay, now Valence is starting to make the games that they needed. Already misses a little bit, but the splash
problem is to get in a position that's viable. They've already wasted 8 minutes, essentially, and now it looks like Marsh is going to be able to go find the artillery.
Oh, and there he goes. That's got to be gratifying. Scouts killing arty is always their favorite thing. So, 1 by 1, looks like Valence falls. One more battle. It's a rough match for them. This is aquatic. They're finally showing up and blowing up. They're getting focused from their mistakes of last week. They've cleaned up quite a bit, and against Valence, who just aren't as prepared, they're dominating here today. They're showing us exactly how to control the battlefield.
And now Valence going for the only play they have left, which is stacking as many tanks as they can on cap, while Spooky goes for the screen. G-Forcer is actually spotted. Doesn't even have his frontal armor turned towards the rest of the guns.
Yeah, he realizes it's over.
Just going through the motions. Mr. Man up on the high ground. It's actually going to be Bales that finds the kill shot.
Yeah. Nicely played there. Mr. Man going to put the rest into static. And Rox, this is quickly going one way, and I think you called it. With the 2 battles going towards mines, definitely means that it quickly goes in favor of aquatic.
Now, this is the one saving grace I will say that Valence have right now is the third map is Himmelsdorf, and that is a map where they at least feel comfortable and they've looked like they could compete with even Apex and Eclipse. Not saying they'd beat them, but they can compete.
Yeah.
Some of these other maps, they look a little bit weaker right now.
They have to win on.
They need to take a win right now to make this 3-1, and then if they can capitalize on maybe some mistakes from Aquatic AM60s and play their games, they might be able to get back into this.
Because if they don't win the next battle on Cliff, then they're going to be sitting there down 4-0, and every single battle is going to be a match point. Every single battle is going to be the battle where Aquatic gets their final win. So they would have to win twice on Himmelsdorf, twice on Prohorovka. And looking at the damage, actually, Spooky shows up with some solid damage, 2,811 in his batch out, even on the
Bales
side.
and Mr. Min both putting up good numbers. Now, while they're putting up good numbers, what a lot of you playing Fantasy have to remember right now is this is well on track to be a 5-0, which means while they're getting good points in these games, there's only 5 games for them to get points from, as opposed to some other matches may go 7, 8, 9 games even.
Yeah, but also Aquatic is known for going long in a match. So it's
right now, they're breaking out of the normal habits that they have, and they are just running through Valence.
This is true. But we'll have to see. Part of me thinks that, thinks, whatever you may call it, Aquatic will go back to what they always do and end up somehow playing a long series regardless of who they're against.
So play worse than they're playing right now. Is that what you're trying to say?
No, I'm saying it always just seems to happen. You know what I'm talking about? They just drop this one attack here or there, and all of a sudden that extends the entire series.
Make some more mistakes, have some clean rotations.
Or the other team plays really well is the other option. You don't.
As much as I like Valence, I like a lot of players on their teams, they're friends of mine, but right now they're not showing what they need to be showing to be able to even get a spot in the playoffs.
Well, that's due to more Aquatic being a step ahead, I think, right now than Valence. Valence is trying; they're just being slow.
Well, they're being slow, and they just seem like they're that one step behind every second. And looking at the lineups right now, 5 Batchats, a 430, and an M4043 for M60s. Valence, 5 Batchats, a TVP, and a T49.
All right, so that. No Artie strat coming out of Valence this time. Artie coming out of Aquatic this time. Almost a reverse, with the exception of swapping out a Kronwagen for 430. Object 430 is not a bad choice.
High DPM.
Good gun handling.
Pretty mobile. No, gun handling not just abysmal. It's the worst of the Russian mediums.
Oh, yeah, you're right. That's not that bad, though. It's workable.
It is workable, but the thing you have to remember is it actually has the same gun depression as the 121 Chinese medium.
It's -4.
-4.
Yep.
So it really struggles
on hills.
Its turret is pretty weak.
It's nimble.
It is nimble, but it takes some really interesting play to make it work. It's good on city maps. It's decent on, say, something like Ghost Town. But a map like Cliff, I'm not necessarily sold on it yet.
Yeah, I see what you're going for. So, hard to rationalize the 430 pickup.
Well, and especially because of how Cliff is set up with all the little bumps and hills and everything and having to play a lot of hold downs. The 430, I don't know, is the greatest choice. Now, if a brawl breaks out, teams just go straight up and over the middle and they're just going to go for the brawl, then the 430 can definitely be leveraged. Use its DPM, be the consistent fire tank in that fight. But right now, I don't see that happening. They're not setting up for a brawl. They have tanks spread out everywhere. They have artillery. So I don't know, can this evolve into something where they can really leverage it, or is it just going to kind of sit back and get some shots off and be beaten up on all game?
Possibly. So I guess then we have to say, okay, the strategy that Aquatic is going for hinges on them getting into a brawl, because the specific tank, the Object 430 that they've chosen, is deliberately on a lineup for damage output. You get into a brawl, it doesn't snipe so well. Well, it snipes okay enough, right? You put up blind fire damage.
A lot of the Russian mediums, that they aren't as accurate on paper as, say, a Leopard 1 or an AMX-30B.
But when you're blind firing...
They have the rate of fire, so they can constantly just rifle off shots. And 2, they're still accurate enough to where you can make it work.
And I'll also make a note, ammo capacity is high enough to the point where you can pretty much do that for an entire 10-minute battle, and you probably won't run out of shells.
Also fair.
Yeah.
Also a fair point.
I started actually thinking about that.
5 seconds. Spooky could be in a world of hurt right now.
Oh, no, he'll be all right. Static might be in a world of hurt in just a moment as Artie just reloaded, shot out, And connection for 882. Marsh picking up a little damage there. And that's going to soften up Valence a little bit more for them to be able to poke out. Viral also at the same time taking some damage in his T-49 from blind fire. That's from Felix. And, well, even though Valence's tanks weren't really spotted, they were going to take damage. Static, though, was spotted on top of the hill.
So, in my opinion right now, Valence as a whole, the weakest part of their game is this sort of slow play, this sort of posturing, the kind of moving around.
Sorry to interrupt real quick.
Go for it.
Looks like Felix takes a lot of damage in the middle of the map, getting picked off by Blitzwolf. And at the same time, looks like Viral jumps. Oh, Spooky goes down as well in the mid, and Viral goes towards Artie. He's going to be able to actually play one-on-one with Feel My Potato, who's going to start taking sniping damage from way downtown.
Well, this is actually, and I don't know why Viral's choosing to leave right now. This is bad for him because he's going to get picked off. Feel My Potato's going to find a shot. Why he's not staying just behind that rock, I don't know. It looks like he's going to get just barely safe.
Not safe enough.
But the Artie should still have the angle on him.
Artie's not going to care.
No, he's not looking for him.
He doesn't care.
But here's the thing. Viral now knows that there's a bat chat on top of the Artie out of the fight in the low ground.
Yes.
That means that the other 5 guns still alive for Valence could go force a 5v4 somewhere, provided they don't have a lot of HP on Static.
But they have to watch their angles. Feel My Potato and Veggie. Oh, actually, let's take a little moment, jump on over to G-Forcer, getting shots into Bales. Bales trying to sneak into the backfield. Looks like Static is very low nearby, and Artie's going to miss G-Forcer. That damage could have just completely won this one for Aquatic. I think if one good connection of Artie onto one of the bat chats, solid connection there, would probably finish this one up.
Now, I will say the one thing about the 430 going down, the reason he got caught out like that is because he had to go higher up on that hill. He had to get his drive wheels over the top of it because he doesn't have the gun depression to sit behind it. He had to go over the top.
Earlier.
And he got tracked in the open and ended up going down just because he had to move that bit further to get a shot on target.
Yep. So just the tiny details are the difference there, and Aquatic loses out on
and
one.
Viral does go down to Feel My Potato, and Valence may have just let a great opportunity kind of slip through their fingers because now Feel My Potato can rotate out close to safe.
Yeah, if Viral would have been able to stay out
Static
playing, that would have been great.
Lit taking a shot, takes another one, and finally Fulkers puts a second connection, 702.
Puts a third one out, fourth actually, sorry. That's going to be a miss, and he's on reload. So Mr. Men will hopefully peek out just in time to start taking more shells. But this is not looking good for Valence. Valence is in a tricky position. They can hold. I think it's possible. 7,000 hit points in 4 minutes and 50 seconds. So it could happen. But Aquatic reasonably should be able to figure this one out. They have been so far. And there, shots fired from Bales into the high ground of G-Forcer. G-Forcer
already shots going off, but G's going to back out just in time. Oh no, he hasn't fired. He still has the shot.
Oh, and then Blitzwolf, where were you? What were you doing, Blitz? He's up. Oh, there's the push from the low ground.
Urtai getting caught out in the open. Artillery still looking for a shot onto G-Forcer, who's trying to help out Urtai.
No, he's not.
Already fires the shot. Comes up short.
Nope, not going to happen. Now, Veggie, Feel My Potato. They are currently far west, so this is quickly...
G-Forcer in a world of hurt right now. He goes down to Dark Ninja. Static trying to capitalize on it, but Urtai and Static both get picked off, and this is going to be a 4-0 lead for Aquatic M60s.
Dark Ninja gets himself killed jumping off the hill. Fulcrus goes for one more.
Gets 2 kills in the process, so not over yet. However, 1637, 1800, and that is game.
That's it right there. That's Aquatic taking this one 4-0. They have one left to win. It's going to be on Himmelsdorf. And the only way Valence wins this match now is in a tiebreaker where they take 2 points and their opponent Aquatic will take 1. That is the only way this one goes towards Valence. It's easily should be a 5-0 for Aquatic. They're showing up, playing very well today, I think. And I don't see any reason for them not to win the next one at Himmelsdorf.
Now, one point that I was going to get to during that game that cut me off for, I want to go back to real quick. The thing that Valence impressed me on early in the season doing well, and they haven't been doing it recently, it's their team play and coordination when they make plays, when they get aggressive, when they make rotations. They keep trying to play this slow game, this sit back and wait, this try to reactive type plays, and it is really kind of hindering them. I don't think it's something that they excel at, and they keep getting put in these situations where that's the type of gameplay they're trying to execute.
They're trying to play something that isn't their style, and they think that's how you play the game, but they can prove to us, and they have proven to us, that's not necessarily the case, is if I'm getting what you're saying. So what are we going to be looking for in Himmelsdorf and Valence? What are we probably going to see out of Aquatic? As I believe, it looks like Aquatic's going to be starting on
defense.
Ooh, so they should be able to finish this one out. Defense is a good side for them.
This could be a 5-0 Valence. Now, once again, I said Valence, this is one of the few maps that they have where they have actually a decent win record on. I believe they are, I want to say 4 out of 6 games they've won.
So that gives a decent chance.
They have a fairly decent chance. They've played it pretty well. They beat it's the one map where they got 2 rounds off of Dare the other day. So it's one map that they've shown they can play on, they can rotate. But Eclipse on Thursday had some great reads against them. Maybe they just too predictable. They had studied some of their older games and they kind of read what Valence were going to do, and they really weren't able to get into the fight much at all during that game. So we'll have to see if they've kind of gone back to the drawing board, maybe changed up their strats a little bit, or maybe they just try to show the same thing, but they're actually doing something different, maybe bait Aquatic M60s.
What about
and making different rotation?
An aggressive play, though, from Aquatic M60s? If they play aggressive on defense, we've talked about how they are great in a brawl or in a situation where they're just forced to be coordinated. They're in a fight like that. If they can do that, they probably walk away with this easy.
Yep, I agree. But let's see if they can make it easy for themselves and if they can get back into the series right now.
Himmelsdorf, a small city map. The teams start the battle in opposite corners. Both bases are located close to each other, but in a way that you can't stay on the defensive all the time. The main attack routes pass through the hill, the alley and the railroad, but in general, the attack can be successfully executed through any part of the map. Heavy tanks and tank destroyers with powerful guns run the show here. However, a lot depends on the mobile light tanks.
And tell me about the lineups.
Well, all you need to know is the, what am I looking for? The kids song. Something about 3 blind mice. It's basically what we got right here. That, 4005, an E3, an Emil 2, and an STI. So they literally are 3 blind mice because they have no eyes. They have no scouts. They have no mediums. They are going to sit there and hope that the other team drives into them and then they can hold and withstand the brawl. Valence, 2 215Bs, a 113, 250Bs, a grill, and an AMX 1390.
So a lot of French tanks, like we've always seen, French tanks being the most popular tanks in the entire league. I think 50B being second place as far as tanks picked.
To none other than the Batchat.
To none other, of course, than the Batchat. Urtai in the 1390 is going to struggle in this battle. 1390s do not perform well even with gold rounds against a mouse. So he's going to have to go for one of the few weak points if he engages against one. And even then, the damage potential is rather low. Fulcrus taking damage in the opener. Shots down the 2-3 line, long range. Looks like blind fire probably coming back towards Fulcrus. He's going to actually take damage for it. So here's blind fire back towards the STI from Veggie.
So here's a little bit of a fun trivial fact for you.
Oh, yes.
So far this season, the mouse has been shown 28 times, has racked up 49,000 damage. Its average damage comes in around 1,700. 21 kills on this season for the mouse. And a large portion of that has to be from Aquatic M60s, especially the last time they ran this strat.
All right.
I believe it was versus Eclipse where they ran this strat near flawlessly.
So it worked out last time. But I think last time we saw this, it was against a lineup that was doomed to fail.
A very light lineup with a lot of French autoloaders.
Exactly.
And if you look at Valence, they have 2 215Bs, which that's 2,500 HP in each of those. So they have some HP to play with.
Yeah, but it's still not competitive with the mouse hit points. You put 2 mouse out there, and you've got almost an entire other tier 10 tanks worth of extra hit points to throw around, right? 3 of them, to be specific. So 3,000 hit points is 500 more than the 215Bs. That's 1,500 hit points. That's a, what is it? That's like that's a 1390 and some change, right? That's what you're bringing to the battlefield. You're bringing so many extra hit points that even if your mouse take 2-3 shells, you're going to be able to feel safe. You're going to be able to feel like you can walk away from that and do something.
The best thing that Valence can do right now is make these mice move and come across the map. If you notice how they're set up, what Valence have to do is they have to find some way to get cap pressure on this cap, and they have to make it so these 3 tanks right here, here, and here are not enough to get the resets. Now they should keyword have most of the angles, especially on that 1390.
But the Emil 2.
But even the Emil 2, he'll have eyes on there, he'll make it hard to get there.
Yeah.
But if they can keep that cap pressure going, What they have to do is get these mice to move and rotate around either through the courtyard or come back out this way and come over here. And when they make that rotation, they have these guns set up to shoot up this lane to punish the courtyard, or tanks up onto the hill to shoot down this way. There are a lot of different things that they can do, and they have to make those mice move. That is where they can get the damage off. If they sit here and try to push into this crossfire with these mouses sitting stagnant, that's going to lose Valence the game.
Okay, so if Aquatic, though, predicts that the cap pressure is going to come from the southwest, I expect that they will adjust. They will figure out what to do.
And that's my point. They will adjust. But the thing is Valence have to capitalize on that adjustment. When they make that rotation, they have to find ways to get damage into those tanks, because that's the only way that they can even this out. Because look at the HP just to start. Valence are starting off roughly 3,000 HP down just from the lineups.
Exactly. And even with some damage being dealt, Aquatic would still be only even with Valence. And now, the damage being dealt, nice. I think that's HE coming out from down south. Dark Ninja realizes he needs to back off and, well, he maybe wait a moment. He's got 2 shells loaded. He's going to decide, I guess, well, just sit back for a moment. Got to give some ground. But that opens things up for Valence. They can begin moving up. They can put something on cap, possibly, especially if they can keep Dark Ninja's head down. If they can keep doing that, they might be able to get rid of him, and that's where we could see the push come up from Valence. But right now, it's a slow game, and Valence has got 5 minutes and 30 seconds left. They've struggled the entire series trying to break the defense of Aquatic, trying to find their way in. Aquatic is comfortable. They're willing to let time just keep on going. And Valence is going to have to get a sense of urgency in here.
Well, the thing that they need to get going is they need to find a way to get some cap pressure on one of these caps.
Yeah.
They're running out of time to make a rotation if they want to back out. It's within the next 30 seconds that if they're going to go to their cap, they have to make that rotation now, and they need to make sure that they make it quickly and they set up as soon as they decide to rotate.
Yeah, it's not going to work out, I expect. Valence is already 5 minutes in. The damage dealt is not there. Dark Ninja in the email 2 is about as much as you can hope for damage dealt. He's not even the weakest tank. The mouse are going to be able to move in, and they should be able to clean this one up, even though they're rather slow. And I'm seeing it now, I think. What was that? That was Feel My Potato.
And finally, the 1390 coming out to get on cap. Now, a lot is going to rely upon this 1390 not getting reset. He needs to get into an angle where he can just sit here and not take any HE splashes, and he can get this cap up to about 50% and make Aquatic M60s uncomfortable. Because look at how the rest of the guns have set up. They've taken courtyard control. They're trying to box them into this 1-2 line, and now it's going to be up to M60s to get the resets. If they can sit back and get the resets, this is their game. This is over. If this 1390 can sit here and bait these shots successfully and not get reset, they have a shot at this. And just like that, that's the first reset already coming in. Hit the backtrack of Urtai. Needs to change the angle.
Yep. Well, I thought that might have been HE, because what I saw Veggie do was he actually reloaded, and he might have been throwing HE out there.
Yep. Now, one thing to think about is in this sort of situation, if you know you're going to try to play this sort of game and the other team's most likely going to run this sort of defense, we've seen like Crusader SPs and other lower tier stuff come out. Why not bring something really small? Why not bring a 12T or a T21, something that's super tiny that has an even smaller profile than a 1390, if you know that this is how it's going to play out?
Well, because you're hoping the 1390 could still be viable in a combat situation, in the brawl. And so when you bring those other smaller tanks, they're far less effective, right? And far less durable. So...
But at this point, the 1390 is not going to be in the fight. He's just going to be sitting there for cap pressure.
Yeah, but if you're allowing a 1390 to sit on cap and you're letting your opponent get time to take HE splash shots at that tank, there's something wrong. You need to be taking the attention away from that cap. You need to be doing something about that. As now we actually have Feel My Potato and the mouse pushing out into the open. Looks like it might be a trap, as we have Fulcrus also moving in, trying to find damage onto Feel My Potato. But even 50Bs are not going to be able to deal enough damage between the two of them to take him down.
Cap up to above 70% now. 35 seconds, there's only one on cap, but the 4005 is going to commit. He's going to push down. He's going to fire and miss and put a shot into the dirt and end up going down.
No way. Urtai's not about to get this cap out. Veggie's not firing at him. Moving forward, taking a lot of damage.
Veggie's trying to open up the angle. That's why he's moving forward. Valence need to shoot at Veggie right now. They need to make sure he can't get any forward, that he can't get the reset. All guns need to shoot him. And now they have a shot. Now he has the one line open. He can actually shift, so Felix can't get the reset.
Possibly.
They need to track him. They need to stop Felix in the open.
Felix
8 seconds.
Oh, and a second track shot from Viral. That could
4
do
seconds, 3 seconds, 2 seconds. And Valence gets the cap.
No, maybe, yes. I don't
They
know.
get it.
Yes.
They get it. Valence put a point up on the board.
There's a lot of kills coming out. That's going to extend the battle a moment.
But look at Blitz. Blitz is all the way down there. He's safe.
And that's it.
That's it.
Okay. That was so close. I thought for a moment that was the reset. It was a fraction of a second too late. Locked in on the cap. The kills extend the battle just a second. And that's not going to be enough. And it's going to be it's going to extend the series, actually.
And that whole game kind of summarizes Valence in a nutshell. You can see that they have the right idea. You can see what they're going for. You can see they understand how to break it. But this whole season, just like today, they're taking so long to do it. Now, this time they squeaked it out. But that was way too close for comfort.
That felt like Aquatic dropping the ball. That's what it felt like to me. It felt like Aquatic dropped the ball. They knew what they should have done. They saw what they needed to do. They had the response ready and waiting, and they just didn't execute in time. You could say something about the lineup. You could say that with a mouse lineup, it's a bit too slow to respond. But the options, it was all there. I felt like they could have figured it out. But props to Valence for picking one up and extending the series. If they win 4 more and they come back, that's crazy. That's absolutely insane against a team like this, against Aquatic. But, Urtai in the 1390 didn't have to deal a single bit of damage. Static in the 50B puts only a little bit of damage on the board.
Well, let's get into hypotheticals here for a second.
All right.
Let's say that Valence do win this round.
Yeah.
Goes on to our 4th map.
Okay.
Prokhorovka.
Okay. Prokhorovka, what do you think that goes?
Well, you have Valence. Prokhorovka is their most played map. Yeah. By no means their best map, but their most played map. They have a lot of game time on it.
Oh, actually, I just got told by production we do have an offline replay. So if we could take a moment, let's take a look and see how the offline matches are doing right now. We got Apex versus Dare. This is a heavy hitters match, and so far it looks like opening is not bad at all from both sides. Dare putting up a real fight.
But it looks like Apex are going to pick this one up. They're pushing around. They have the extra guns alive. And that is going to make it 4-0 in favor of Apex.
Wow. That is, looking at my match stats, it looks like Ghost Town, they move on to Murvanka. And just like this match, it's quickly going one way. And that just shows you just how dominant Apex is against a team like Dare, one of the top teams right now.
They are the second-place team right now.
Yeah.
Well, they may not be by the end of tonight, because if Eclipse get the win, that's going to be Eclipse moving up. AM60s getting the win. I think they'd both leapfrog or come close to leapfrogging Dare Rising.
Let me check real quick. I've actually got the standings on my sheet over here. And actually, yeah, if that happens tonight, yeah, that could be hugely impactful. Aquatic would be able to jump.
That could be 07. Well, 07 play Eclipse, so whichever team wins that 07 Eclipse match, that could be one of them leapfrogging Dare Rising into second place. And you have to remember that first and second place get the automatic bye to the offline regional finals. So that second place seed is hugely important.
So let's jump back onto this match, back on track. Tell me about these lineups, Rox.
Aquatic M60s, 250Bs, an IS-7, a Kronwagen, a T-57, a Grill 15, and an AMX 1390. Valence, a 113, a 50B, a 183, a Batchat. Urtai, once again, playing the AMX 5100, the only person in the league to bring the 5100 so far this season, and G-Forcer dropping down to the Tier 9 in the Emil 2.
Do you think there's any reason not to bring a 5100? Is there any reason, an argument against bringing that tank? Because it seems like just a reasonable lower-tier French auto.
I need to do a direct comparison between that and the Emil 2 to get a feel for it. But the Emil 2 has that turret and has the survivability. And I don't think that the DPM on the 5120 is much better than the Emil 2. So I don't know that it's... I don't know why you just wouldn't bring the Emil 2 to get the extra gun depression and turret armor. It is a little bit... I will say it is a little bit quicker. Yeah. That's the one thing it does have.
If you're going to be aggressive, probably the 5120. If you're going to slow it down and go hold down, Emil 2 makes a lot of sense.
And Valence are on defense right now, so playing those hold downs, getting the shots off down the long lanes, that's really important. So...
It could also be personal choice. Urtai is a bit of a quirky guy. You notice he brought a 1390. You had questions about that choice. I agreed with it, but that's only probably because of my experience playing with Urtai, right?
Well, with that whole situation, you have to assume that Valence have done their homework, that they've seen that defense, and they have a plan to break it. And they clearly showed. We don't see teams go for that one-tap off.
And here's the push right across. Marsh leads the way, doesn't take any fire. Lucky for him. And crossing also is Bales. Dark Ninja also taking no damage. But Fulcrus fires. and does just a little bit of a toll. And Aquatic has presence now in the northeast side of the map. They move around. Focus fire onto G-Forcer. He's not going to last. And there we go. Shots fired. Urtai taking damage. And nice jukes, actually wasting a lot of shells from Aquatic M60s autoloaders early in this fight.
Mr. Man with the shot onto Static ends up missing. Blitzwolf on fire right now, ticking down. 300. He's a one-shotter. Damage just going all over Valence right now. They're not really trading it out outside of Felix. Great focus fire there.
But the damage is going on both sides. About 5,000 right now for Aquatic. That could quickly change. Their autoloaders are going to run out of momentum. And Urtai is barely alive at the end of his fight. Great job for a 120. Not anymore, never mind. But is this going to pay off? 4 tanks alive versus 5. Aquatic does have a slight advantage.
Only 1,000 HP in favor of Aquatic M60s.
But look who is alive. Spooky is alive in his FE.
And Static, who's looking for a shot right now, he has that 183, so he could take one of these fields, or one of these tanks completely off the field. Even Mr. Man with a 1,300 HP.
And
one shot could end it.
Spooky gets a crucial kill. Just as Bales shows up to try and blow him up. Should be able to get the final killing blow. And he does. All right.
Viral might have the kill shot onto Bales here. Static's going to look for it. He's going to fire it, but that's going to be the last shot he gets off. He's going to go down, and now it is a 1v3. Valence's last hope right now
is a
Viral in the bat chat.
And he's surprisingly the one alive at the end of the brawl. Usually he goes down a little quicker, especially since he's in a bat chat, you'd expect it as well. And
well, it's also it's not just the bat chat, but it's also Viral. He's a player that likes to get aggressive, that likes to be a little bit borderline reckless, I guess you could say.
He usually, and that's his role on the team, to play that aggressive player, that role, and to do what he can. Now, here's an interesting thought, and follow me on this. Viral in a bat chat is one of the few tanks I think that could clutch a match like this. It's mobile enough, it has the burst, so if he finds someone out alone, he could take them down. He'll have trouble against the grill Mr. Man. Mr. Man is sitting on 1,048 hit points.
I don't know that he has time to do this. He's going to turn around after going towards the hill.
Oh,
there's cap. 3 tanks on cap. That's 30 seconds he has to get in position to get the reset, and he is almost as far away from that cap as you could possibly be on this map without going over to Ruinberg or Steps somewhere.
Without visiting literally another map.
Yeah.
He is as far as he can get. Yeah, I don't think he expected the cap fast. And you're right, he might not be able to get there.
He's not going to get there.
No, he's not, actually.
He doesn't have the time.
Look at where Dark Ninja, Mr. Man, and Marsh are. If they were not in exactly the position that they are currently in, no, actually, not even close. That's it.
Cap out.
GG.
That is going to be Aquatic M60s walking away with a 5-1 victory in favor of themselves.
Nicely played. We thought it for a moment it was going to be a straight blowout. Good job on Valence to pick up a win on a cap fast on Himmelsdorf Battle 1. But 4 battles in a row, just Aquatic was dominant, completely dominant. Valence was at no point on the same page as their opponent. It seemed like they were always a step behind. I respected some of the plays they brought out. Some of the sneaky stuff from G-Forcer on Mines was something to appreciate. Some of the way that they went for the attack on Himmelsdorf had some merit. But Aquatic on every battle has been playing it much more succinctly, much quicker.
This is the M60s I like to see. We saw it out of them last season where they really showed that they were one of those top teams, and it wasn't until the end, right before the playoffs, where they really started to struggle and drop down. Looking at the damage here, Mr. Man, 2,800 damage, 90 fantasy points. Everyone that picked someone from this match will be happy that it was 6 rounds instead of 5. They managed to do something. But looking at the second page, even the 183 is Static. 140 damage, 1 kill.
Wow, he didn't really.
Now March in the 1390, 72 points.
He got to fire
for
twice.
Sitting on the cap.
Static got to fire twice that battle. Of course he didn't get to perform well. He didn't even get to see any targets before everyone blew up.
Fair enough. Looking at damage for the series, 1,600, 460 fantasy points for Mr. Man. I almost pretty much instantly regret taking him off my team right now.
Oh yes, Bales was a good choice.
Pretty solid game today. Looking on the second page here, no one really of note. G-Forcer, 168 points. It's definitely disappointing, but especially compared to how Valence played, I'm surprised they have anyone on the first page almost, to a certain extent.
Oh, Spooky makes sense on the first page, right? He's usually a top damage dealer, and Valence didn't get to do what they wanted to do in this match at all. I think Aquatic was completely dominant. It was pretty cut and dry as far as things go. I don't think there's a lot to be said about Valence and what they can do going forward. They've got to just get up to speed. They just need to get up to speed with Aquatic. Aquatic looks really strong right now. They look like they're on the same page.
I agree. They're playing well. They're finally kind of out of that slump that they're in.
Yeah.
And this may be the difference between this season and last season. Last season, they hit their stride early. They played well early. And they had some good games in the middle of the season, and then they kind of dropped off towards the end, a little bit questionable. Some games where you're kind of like, they look all right, but you weren't sure about it. And then playoffs came, and they just completely choked.
Yeah.
They started off the season slow. They kind of getting into things, had some struggles, and now they're starting to hit their stride. If they can carry the stride through the second round robin, maybe we'll actually see them make a decent run out of something.
All right, well, we do have Mr. Man on the line to talk about that match. So welcome, sir, to the broadcast. Tell us about that match for you guys. How did it feel as Aquatic? Did you feel like you were in control the entire time? Because that's what it looked like to us.
Yeah, it felt like almost every round we felt like we had complete control. Obviously, the resets didn't come in on the one himmelsdorf defense, which we'll have to look at some positioning and maybe some tanks to deal with that.
Yeah,
that strat.
That was the confusing battle for me. I was sitting there expecting there to be the reset, but then I saw everyone from Aquatic just kind of go, and it felt like you guys thought it wasn't going to come to that the battle wasn't going to, you weren't going to need to leave your cover to reset cap, but what happened there? Was it too slow of a lineup maybe? Is 3 mice too many?
I think there was a couple of missed shots by the 4005, I think, and I think we relied too heavily on the ST1 to be able to get some resets as well, so that was the issue there.
Okay.
All right, and my question for you, Mr. Man, Cliff, your defense. It looked from your setup, because it was definitely a different setup on Cliff than we've seen out of a lot of teams. I kind of feel like that was more of just a direct counter to the hill, essentially, to stop other teams, not just Valence, but anyone from getting up onto the hill. Is that kind of how you guys set it up, or is there a different game plan that I'm not seeing?
I mean, that's definitely it. Definitely the meta right now for attack is to, take the hill through the boost, and it definitely does counter that pretty well. And also we have certain things set up so that, we could deal with the 1-2 line play, and then also the 8 line play like you saw in that match. So.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like you guys have been studying up. I saw your Minds play looked a lot like what I've been seeing in EU and CIS regions as well. So it's something that has migrated a little bit slower over here. How are you guys picking up on that east side play on Minds? Because it's becoming more and more intricate to kind of decide to play that side.
You have to play it really tight, and you have to, know like exactly where the enemies are based on where you're getting spotted, and you just got to bleed as little as you can and just gain. You're really fighting for every inch when you're on Mind's attack, and you just got to grind it out and use all the time you can to do it. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us on the broadcast. You guys were phenomenal, absolutely dominant. Good luck for round robin 2.
Thank you.
Love having him on.
Yeah, I love the